welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. Emergency Communications Center, Regional Facility 7. Date: October 15, 2025. Shift Supervisor, Damon Slate. Time: 14:30 Eastern Standard Time. Another routine Tuesday at the Regional Emergency Communications Center. The banks of monitors displayed their usual array of green status indicators across the metropolitan grid. Power distribution normal, transportation networks flowing smoothly, emergency response teams maintaining standard readiness levels. I've been running this facility for 8 years, and the patterns had become as predictable as clockwork. The afternoon briefing packet contained the standard federal continuity exercise notifications. Department of Homeland Security scheduled a communications drill for Thursday, FEMA conducting supply chain assessments through the weekend, and the National Guard running equipment inspections at 3 local armories. Nothing unusual there. These exercises happen monthly, sometimes weekly, part of the endless cycle of preparedness protocols that kept our emergency response systems sharp. Amara Quinn knocked on my office door at precisely 14:45, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder, and that familiar focused expression indicating she'd found something worth discussing. As our network security analyst, Amara monitored the digital infrastructure that kept our communications flowing during emergencies. She maintained the encrypted channels between regional centers, tracked data integrity across federal networks, and ensured our systems could handle the massive information loads that came with large-scale disaster response. Minor anomalies in the federal communication networks, she reported, settling into the chair across from my desk and opening her laptop. Nothing that triggers automatic alerts, but the traffic patterns are slightly off baseline. Increased encrypted data streams between DC and regional facilities, about 15% above normal for a Tuesday afternoon. I reviewed the data she'd compiled. The numbers showed elevated activity, but well within the parameters for routine government operations. Any indication of source or destination specifics? Negative. The encryption protocols are standard federal, but the volume suggests either larger than usual exercises or expanded interagency coordination. Amara's fingers moved across the keyboard, pulling up additional screens of network analysis. Could be related to the continuity exercises scheduled for this week. The door opened again, and Zeke Calder entered carrying his daily logistics report. Our supply chain coordinator handled the complex web of resources that kept emergency operations functional. He tracked everything from vehicle fuel to medical supplies, ensuring our facility could maintain operations during extended crisis periods. Zeke understood the intricate relationships between suppliers, transportation networks, and storage facilities that made emergency response possible. Unusual requisitions coming through military channels, Zeke announced, setting his tablet on my desk. Increased orders for emergency rations, water purification equipment, and portable power systems, about 40% above normal procurement levels for this quarter. I scanned the requisition summary. The increases were significant but not unprecedented. Large-scale exercises required substantial resources, and budget cycles sometimes created clustering of purchases. Timeline on these orders? Most are marked for immediate delivery to classified locations. That's the unusual part. Normally, we see delivery schedules spread across multiple weeks to avoid supply chain strain. Zeke highlighted several entries on his report. This concentration suggests either accelerated exercise timelines or stockpiling for anticipated operations. The intercom crackled with the shift change notification. 1500 hours brought the afternoon crew rotation, a precisely choreographed transition that ensured continuous monitoring of our emergency systems. I watched through the office window as technicians updated their colleagues on current status, handed off active monitoring responsibilities, and verified that all systems remained within normal parameters. Our facility housed the backup communication systems for the entire metropolitan region. If primary emergency services lost connectivity, our equipment would automatically assume coordination responsibilities. The underground levels contained diesel generators capable of maintaining operations for 72 hours, along with food and water supplies for a full staff complement. Federal protocols required us to maintain readiness for extended independent operations. At 15:15, Elara Moon arrived for her intelligence briefing update. As our intelligence liaison, she maintained contact with federal agencies and coordinated information sharing between our facility and higher-level command structures. Elara processed classified reports, assessed threat levels, and ensured our emergency response planning incorporated current intelligence assessments. Routine intelligence updates today, she reported, though her tone suggested something had caught her attention. Elevated chatter regarding government continuity protocols, but nothing specific enough to generate threat assessments. Multiple agencies are conducting simultaneous readiness evaluations. I reviewed the intelligence summary she provided. The language was typical bureaucratic phrasing, but the frequency of continuity references seemed higher than usual. Government continuity protocols were designed to ensure leadership survival and operational capability during national emergencies. These systems activated during everything from natural disasters to security threats, maintaining essential functions while primary leadership relocated to secure facilities. Any indication of what's driving the increased focus on continuity operations? Negative. The reports reference evolving global situations and enhanced preparedness requirements, but no specific threat identification. Elara's background in military intelligence made her sensitive to the subtle patterns that often preceded larger developments. Could be routine cycle escalation or response to classified intelligence were not cleared to receive. The afternoon continued with standard operational monitoring. Weather services reported clear conditions across the region, transportation systems maintained normal flow patterns, and emergency services logged only routine calls. Our facility hummed with the quiet efficiency of well-maintained systems operating within design parameters. At 1600 hours, Celeste Rhine completed her transportation coordination review. She monitored the movement of emergency resources, tracked vehicle availability, and maintained relationships with transportation providers who supported our operations during crisis situations. Celeste understood how people and supplies moved through the complex metropolitan infrastructure, knowledge that became crucial when normal transportation systems failed or required emergency reconfiguration. Some interesting patterns in aircraft movement, she mentioned during her update. Increased private jet traffic to regional airports, particularly those with military or government connections. Commercial aviation remains normal, but executive transportation is running about 30% above typical levels. I made notes of each team member's observations. Individually, the anomalies they'd identified fell within normal operational variance. Federal exercises required increased communication, supply requisitions, and transportation coordination. Intelligence assessments naturally elevated during periods of increased government activity. Nothing triggered our formal alert protocols. However, the combination of all these factors created a subtle pattern that experienced emergency management professionals learned to recognize. Small deviations from baseline operations often preceded larger developments. My 8 years running this facility had taught me to pay attention when multiple systems showed simultaneous anomalies, even minor ones. The day shift concluded with standard status reports transmitted to federal oversight. All systems operational, personnel at full strength, resource levels adequate, and readiness status green across all categories. Our facility maintained its position as a reliable node in the National Emergency Response Network. As evening approached, I reviewed the duty logs and prepared transition notes for the night shift supervisor. The patterns my team had identified warranted monitoring but didn't require immediate action. Tomorrow would likely bring additional clarity regarding the federal exercises and whether the elevated activity levels represented routine operations or something requiring enhanced vigilance. The emergency communication systems continued their constant monitoring, digital sentinels watching for the signals that would indicate our services were needed. Another routine day in the endless cycle of preparedness that kept our society functioning, even when most people never realized how many systems worked continuously to maintain their safety and security. Emergency Communications Center, Regional Facility 7. Date: October 16, 2025. Shift Supervisor, Damon Slate. Time: 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. The overnight shift supervisor's report contained the first concrete deviation from standard operations. 3 federal officials scheduled for morning briefings had failed to check in. Not delayed, not rescheduled, simply absent from their designated contact windows. In 8 years of managing emergency communications, I'd learned that government officials might be late, might be difficult, but they never simply disappeared from scheduled security briefings without notification. Deputy Director Martinez from Department of Homeland Security, Regional Coordinator Chun from FEMA, and Colonel Williams from the National Guard Liaison Office. All 3 maintained regular communication schedules with our facility as part of regional emergency preparedness protocols. Their absence represented a break in the information chain that kept our systems coordinated with federal response capabilities. I initiated standard contact procedures, sending encrypted queries through official channels and requesting status updates from their respective offices. The responses arrived within 20 minutes, each containing identical language. Personnel temporarily unavailable due to operational requirements. Alternative contacts will be designated as necessary. Amara Quinn arrived at 8:30 with data that transformed individual anomalies into recognizable patterns. Her network security analysis revealed encrypted traffic spikes that had continued throughout the night, reaching levels typically associated with major crisis response operations. The communication patterns showed point-to-point coordination between federal facilities, military installations, and classified locations that didn't appear on standard emergency response networks. Traffic volume increased another 30% overnight, she reported, displaying network analysis charts on the main operations screen. The encryption protocols are federal standard, but the routing patterns suggest coordination of multiple simultaneous operations. Data streams are being routed through backup channels, avoiding primary government communication networks. The implications were significant. Backup communication channels were reserved for situations where primary networks faced disruption or compromise. Their use during peacetime operations suggested either elaborate exercise scenarios or actual emergency conditions requiring communication security measures. At 9 o'clock, Alara Moon's intelligence briefing confirmed the pattern escalation. Her overnight monitoring had detected unusual activity across multiple federal agencies, with coordination meetings scheduled at facilities not typically involved in routine operations. The intelligence traffic contained references to accelerated protocols and enhanced security measures, terminology associated with elevated threat responses. Multiple agencies are conducting simultaneous readiness evaluations at an intensity level I haven't seen outside of actual crisis situations, Alara reported. The coordination suggests either a major exercise scenario or response to intelligence that hasn't been shared with regional facilities. She provided classified summaries showing increased activity at federal emergency operations centers, expanded security protocols at government facilities, and enhanced screening procedures for personnel access. The pattern indicated systematic preparation for operations requiring elevated security and coordination measures. Zeke Calder's morning logistics report added another dimension to the emerging pattern. Supply chain activity had intensified overnight, with emergency resource orders being expedited to classified delivery locations. Transportation manifests showed unusual cargo movements, including medical supplies, communication equipment, and extended-duration survival resources. The requisition patterns suggest preparation for extended operations at remote or secure facilities, Zeke explained, highlighting specific entries in his tracking systems. Emergency ration orders are sized for large groups over extended periods, and the medical supplies include field treatment capabilities typically associated with isolated operations. Transportation data showed increased movement of government vehicles from federal facilities to locations not identified in standard operational databases. The vehicle assignments suggested personnel relocation rather than equipment transfers, with capacity allocations indicating movement of essential staff rather than routine supply deliveries. At 10:30, Celeste Rhine's transportation monitoring revealed the most significant pattern deviation. Aircraft movement data showed unprecedented private aviation activity, with executive aircraft departing from government-affiliated airports at rates far exceeding normal operational levels. The flight patterns indicated movement toward remote facilities and private airports with enhanced security capabilities. Executive transportation activity is running at crisis-level intensity, Celeste reported, displaying flight tracking data on her monitoring screen. The aircraft types and destinations suggest high-priority personnel movement rather than routine government travel. Multiple flights are departing for locations that don't appear on standard government facility databases. Commercial aviation remained within normal parameters, but the concentration of private aircraft movement created a distinct pattern. The timing coordination suggested planned evacuation or relocation operations rather than routine executive travel schedules. I consolidated the morning reports into a comprehensive analysis of developing patterns. Federal officials absent from scheduled briefings, encrypted communication traffic at crisis levels, supply chain movements suggesting extended remote operations, and executive transportation indicating high-priority personnel relocations. Individual elements could be explained by exercise scenarios, but the combination suggested operational reality rather than training simulations. Emergency broadcast systems continued monitoring civilian networks for anomalies. Public communication remained normal, news services reported routine events, and civilian emergency services maintained standard activity levels. The pattern deviations were confined to government and military networks, creating a disconnect between official operations and public awareness. At 11:45, the first communication blackout occurred. Federal oversight channels went silent for 17 minutes, exceeding protocol allowances for routine maintenance or security updates. When connectivity resumed, the data streams showed altered routing patterns and reduced information sharing with regional facilities like ours. Standard protocol required immediate reporting of communication disruptions exceeding 15 minutes. I transmitted the incident report through backup channels, noting the duration and characteristics of the blackout. The response arrived within minutes. Communication disruption resulted from scheduled system updates. No action required by regional facilities. The explanation contradicted our technical analysis. Scheduled system updates followed documented procedures and included advance notification to dependent facilities. The blackout pattern indicated emergency network reconfiguration rather than routine maintenance operations. By midday, the pattern had become unmistakable. Government operations were escalating to emergency levels while maintaining the appearance of routine activities. Federal officials were relocating to secure facilities, communication networks were being reconfigured for crisis operations, and supply chains were supporting extended remote operations. I called a team coordination meeting to assess our facility's operational status. Our emergency protocols required evaluation of resource levels, personnel availability, and system capabilities when federal activity patterns suggested potential crisis development. The assessment would determine our readiness for extended independent operations if communication with federal oversight became disrupted. The afternoon brought additional confirmation of systematic changes in government operations. More officials became unavailable for scheduled briefings, communication blackouts increased in frequency and duration, and supply requisitions showed further escalation toward crisis-level resource demands. Our facility maintained normal operations while monitoring the developing patterns. Emergency communication systems remained functional, backup power systems tested within specifications, and resource levels met requirements for extended operations. The technical systems we depended on for crisis response continued operating normally, even as the federal networks they connected to showed increasing signs of emergency reconfiguration. As the day shift concluded, I prepared a comprehensive pattern analysis for transmission to federal oversight. The report documented the systematic deviations from normal operations, assessed their potential implications for regional emergency response capabilities, and requested clarification of our facility's operational requirements during whatever developments were driving the federal activity escalation. The response to my report arrived as I completed end-of-shift procedures. Regional facilities are to maintain standard operations pending further instructions. Pattern deviations noted and will be addressed through appropriate channels. Standard operations while federal networks operated at crisis levels. The disconnect suggested our facility's role in whatever was developing remained unclear to federal planners, or that regional emergency management had become secondary to other operational priorities. Emergency Communications Center Regional Command. Status Report Day 3. Filed by Damon Slate, Emergency Communications Specialist. Federal database access confirmed at 0600 hours. Authentication protocols functional despite communication anomalies reported in previous status updates. Initiated comprehensive search of emergency authorization records following pattern analysis completed by Intelligence Liaison Alara Moon. Mass evacuation authorizations located in Federal Emergency Database. Classification: Eyes only, continuity essential. Authorization timestamps: 72 hours prior to first observed government personnel absences. Critical discovery: no transmission records to regional emergency centers. Evacuation orders never distributed to operational command levels. Verification completed with Network Security Analyst Amara Quinn. Federal servers showing systematic data purging operations. Real-time monitoring confirms active deletion of classified databases. Estimated completion of data purge: 48 to 72 hours from current timestamp. Security protocols indicate authorized personnel conducting operations, not external breach. Quinn reports government network traffic redirected through military-only channels. Civilian emergency services excluded from priority routing systems. Standard emergency coordination protocols compromised. Backup communication networks remain functional but lack federal integration capabilities. Transportation Coordinator Celeste Rhine accessed federal transportation manifests through emergency authority codes. Manifest analysis reveals unprecedented movement patterns. 247 government aircraft departing to undisclosed locations. 89 chartered vessels departing coastal facilities. 156 ground transport convoys to classified destinations. 0 return transportation scheduled. Supply Chain Coordinator Zeke Calder reports critical redirection of civilian resources. Government contracts canceled with 24-hour notice. Military supply chains activated for exclusive distribution. Civilian supply networks report inventory requisitioned under emergency powers. Hospital supplies, food distribution, fuel reserves transferred to military control. Personnel status updates from regional facilities indicate conflicting orders received by emergency staff. Some facilities ordered to maintain full operational status. Others directed to evacuate non-essential personnel. No coordination between directives. Command authority unclear for operational decisions. Database query results indicate emergency shelter activation codes distributed to select personnel. Geographic analysis shows shelter locations correspond to high-security government facilities. Population capacity: approximately 50,000 individuals. Current civilian population in operational area: 2.3 million. Federal emergency protocol documentation accessed through professional channels. Standard procedures require 48-hour advance notice for evacuation operations. Regional coordination mandatory for civilian protection protocols. Current operations violate established emergency management procedures. Cross-reference analysis completed between evacuation manifests and emergency personnel rosters. 0 correlation between departing government officials and emergency response capabilities. Technical specialists, medical personnel, infrastructure managers remain at operational posts. Administrative and executive personnel prioritized for evacuation. Communication intercepts analyzed by Quinn indicate foreign government coordination. Multiple international evacuation operations detected through satellite communication monitoring. Pattern suggests coordinated global response to undisclosed threat. No threat assessment data available through standard intelligence channels. Facility security status confirms government installations transitioning to automated systems. Human personnel reduced to minimum operational requirements. Security protocols activated for extended unmanned operations. Infrastructure protection prioritized over personnel safety. Emergency broadcast systems remain under federal control despite regional facility abandonment. Broadcast authorization codes unchanged. Technical capabilities maintained for continued operations. Federal oversight reduced to automated monitoring systems. Critical assessment indicates systematic preparation for extended government absence. Operational infrastructure maintained for essential services only. Civilian population excluded from protection protocols. Emergency response capabilities limited to existing regional resources. Resource inventory confirms local supply limitations. Federal emergency reserves withdrawn without replacement authorization. Regional stockpiles sufficient for 30-day operations under normal conditions. Extended operations require resource conservation protocols. Intelligence Liaison Moon reports communication blackout affecting military command structures. Standard briefing schedules suspended. Operational orders transmitted through automated systems only. Human verification required for critical decisions unavailable through normal channels. Transportation analysis reveals infrastructure preparation for restricted access. Highway checkpoint systems activated along evacuation routes. Civilian transportation monitoring increased through automated surveillance. Movement restrictions implemented without public notification. Technical assessment confirms federal database security measures activated for data protection. Access limitations increasing daily through automated protocols. Critical information available only through emergency authority overrides. Standard operational access terminated within 24-hour timeframe. Facility power systems report increased load from automated operations. Backup power reserves calculated for 72-hour maximum duration. Extended operations require manual intervention for power management. Federal facilities operating under emergency power conservation protocols. Professional assessment indicates emergency management protocols violated by current operations. Civilian protection requirements abandoned. Regional emergency response capabilities isolated from federal coordination. Operational independence required for continued emergency services. Documentation complete for current investigative phase. Recommend activation of regional emergency protocols independent of federal oversight. Resource conservation essential for continued operations. Personnel safety dependent on facility security measures. Status update scheduled for 24-hour intervals pending federal communication restoration. Emergency broadcast capabilities maintained for civilian population services. Regional coordination protocols established with available emergency personnel. Investigation continues with available database access. Federal system monitoring essential for threat assessment updates. Resource management critical for sustained operations. Emergency Communications Center, Regional Command. Critical status alert, Day 4. Emergency broadcast operator, Damon Slate. 0800 hours. Federal Emergency Alert System activated without regional authorization. Automated message broadcasting on all civilian frequencies. Emergency alert. Global security threat detected. Government continuity protocols now in effect. All civilian transportation suspended immediately. Remain in current locations. Await further instructions. Message repeats every 15 minutes across all emergency broadcast channels. Regional emergency centers not consulted for message content or distribution authorization. Federal override codes prevent modification or cancellation of broadcasts. 0815 hours. Transportation Coordinator Celeste Rhine reports immediate suspension of all public transit systems. Bus routes terminated mid-operation. Subway systems locked down. Airport civilian flights grounded by Federal Aviation Authority. Highway access points blocked by automated barrier systems. Supply Chain Coordinator Zeke Calder confirms complete halt of civilian supply deliveries. Trucking companies ordered to military distribution centers. Grocery stores report no scheduled restocking. Fuel stations receiving military-only allocations. Emergency services maintaining priority access through override codes. 0830 hours. Network security analyst Amara Quinn detects cascading failures in civilian communication networks. Internet service providers reporting federal shutdown orders. Cellular towers switching to emergency-only operations. Landline systems restricted to government and emergency services. Civilian population communication capabilities reduced by 85%. Intelligence liaison Alara Moon observes military checkpoint establishment on major highway arteries. Checkpoints positioned to control access between urban sectors. Personnel requirements. Military identification for passage. Civilian vehicles turned back without exception. Supply vehicles requiring special authorization codes. 0900 hours. Regional Emergency Center receives federal communication. Maintain emergency broadcast operations. Personnel classified essential for communication infrastructure. No evacuation authorized. Continue operations under automated federal oversight. Message transmitted through automated federal command system. No human authorization signature. Standard verification protocols non-functional due to federal personnel absence. 0915 hours. Power grid status reports indicate selective shutdowns affecting non-essential civilian sectors. Residential areas experiencing rolling blackouts. Commercial districts operating at reduced capacity. Emergency facilities and military installations maintaining full power. Industrial facilities switched to military priority allocation. Transportation Coordinator Rhine attempts highway checkpoint passage for supply acquisition. Military personnel report orders to prevent civilian movement beyond designated zones. Emergency vehicles permitted with proper authorization. Government facilities access restricted to automated security systems only. 0945 hours. Emergency broadcast system receives updated federal message for transmission. Global security threat requires immediate population management. Civilian movement prohibited for public safety. Emergency services maintaining essential operations. Government personnel relocated to secure facilities for continuity of operations. Regional staff required to broadcast message despite lack of threat specification or timeline information. Federal oversight monitoring compliance through automated surveillance systems. Network analyst Quinn reports complete loss of federal database access. Government servers switched to military-only networks. Emergency authorization codes no longer functional for civilian emergency services. Technical systems operating under federal control without regional input capability. 1000 hours. Intelligence liaison Moon intercepts military communications indicating civilian area containment protocols. Population movement tracking through automated surveillance systems. Resource distribution limited to prevent civilian accumulation of supplies. Emergency services monitored for compliance with federal directives. Supply Coordinator Calder reports emergency supply requests denied by automated federal systems. Regional emergency stockpiles locked under federal security protocols. Access requires authorization codes not provided to regional personnel. Current supplies limited to 72-hour operational capacity. 1030 hours. Facility security systems transition to federal control. Regional personnel access maintained for essential operations only. Security doors operating under automated federal protocols. Emergency exits secured except for authorized personnel evacuation procedures. Transportation systems report complete civilian isolation between urban sectors. Military checkpoints establishing perimeter control around population centers. Intercity transportation suspended indefinitely. Emergency vehicles required to justify movement through military authorization procedures. 1,100 hours. Communication networks report systematic reduction in civilian capabilities. Federal control expanding hourly over regional communication infrastructure. Emergency broadcast systems maintained for federal message distribution only. Regional emergency coordination reduced to facility internal communications. Power distribution prioritization continues reducing civilian sector allocations. Emergency facilities operating under federal power management systems. Backup generator protocols activated for extended operations. Fuel supplies restricted to federal authorization systems. 1,130 hours. Federal emergency alert updated for broadcast. Population security measures in effect indefinitely. Government operations continue from secure locations. Emergency services maintain essential functions under federal oversight. Civilian cooperation required for public safety. Regional emergency personnel required to maintain broadcast operations without access to federal decision-making processes. Professional emergency management protocols suspended in favor of federal automated systems. Military checkpoint reports indicate complete containment of civilian populations within designated urban sectors. Rural areas evacuated to urban centers for centralized population management. Emergency services operating under reduced capability due to resource restrictions. 1,200 hours. Emergency Communications Center operating under federal oversight with reduced personnel authority. Regional decision-making capability suspended. Essential personnel maintaining technical operations under automated federal monitoring. Communication with other regional centers limited to operational status reports. Critical assessment. Regional emergency services isolated from federal coordination. Civilian population containment established through infrastructure control. Professional emergency management replaced by automated federal systems. Personnel safety dependent on continued compliance with federal oversight protocols. Emergency broadcast operations continuing under federal mandate. Resource conservation critical for sustained facility operations. Personnel coordination limited to essential technical functions. Emergency communications log, Day 4, 14:27 hours. Regional Emergency Communications Center, Station Alpha, 7. Operator, D. Slate, Emergency Communications Specialist. The automated alert system activated without authorization codes at 14:15. Standard protocol requires supervisory approval for system-wide emergency broadcasts. No supervisors present. No authorization received through proper channels. Alert message transmitted across all emergency frequencies. Priority emergency alert. Global security threat status critical. World leaders have been evacuated to secure locations under Emergency Continuity Protocol 7 Alpha. Civilian populations should remain calm and await further instructions. You were never meant to survive this transition. End transmission. Message repeated on loop. Duration: 12 minutes before I manually terminated broadcast. Amara Quinn reports all federal oversight terminals displaying access terminated across security monitoring systems. Network traffic indicates complete severing of civilian emergency services from federal command structure. No explanation provided through official channels. 14:33 hours. Facility status update. Main entrance sealed remotely. Magnetic locks engaged without local authorization. Emergency override codes non-functional. Zeke Calder confirms backup entrance also sealed. Facility lockdown initiated from external source. Internal communication system receives automated message. Emergency personnel are required to maintain operational status until system transition complete. Estimated duration: 72 to 96 hours. Supply allocation adjusted to essential functions only. Supply allocation adjustment translates to 60% reduction in available resources. Food stores, water reserves, backup fuel, medical supplies all restricted to essential personnel access levels. 5 personnel currently on-site do not meet federal essential personnel criteria according to updated database. 1441 hours. Resource assessment. Current supplies assuming normal consumption. Water, 72 hours. Food, 96 hours. Backup generator fuel, 48 hours. Medical supplies, basic first aid only. Communication equipment, fully operational, dependent on power supply. Alara Moon reports intelligence liaison channels completely severed. No federal contact possible through official networks. Emergency coordination protocols indicate regional facilities should maintain independent operations when federal oversight unavailable. 1445 hours. Personnel status. Celeste Rhine confirms transportation coordinator duties terminated by federal order. All government vehicles remotely disabled through fleet management system. Personal vehicles in parking structure inaccessible due to facility lockdown. Team assessment indicates complete abandonment by federal oversight. Emergency broadcast requirements still active but no supervisory guidance available. Standard protocols specify maintaining operations until relieved or until critical system failure. 1452 hours. Technical analysis. Reviewing emergency broadcast message syntax and authorization patterns. Message origin traces to Federal Emergency Management primary servers but uses non-standard authorization codes. Phrase, "You were never meant to survive this transition," not found in any federal emergency communication protocols. Cross-referencing with continuity planning documentation. Emergency Continuity Protocol 7 Alpha classified above regional access level. No operational details available through standard channels. Amara accessing backup database systems for protocol verification. Security clearance sufficient for partial access to continuity planning archives. 1507 hours. Database analysis results. Emergency Continuity Protocol 7 Alpha. Population Density Reduction Initiative. File creation date, 18 months ago. Last modification, 72 hours ago. Archive summary indicates planned infrastructure transition requiring significant civilian population adjustment. Leadership relocation to designated secure facilities. Regional emergency services tasked with maintaining system stability during transition period. Classification level prevents access to operational details. File access log shows extensive recent activity from executive-level accounts. 1515 hours. Tactical assessment. Federal emergency systems designed to maintain civilian population safety during crisis events. Current parameters indicate inversion of primary mission. Emergency systems being used to manage civilian population abandonment. Resources allocated to emergency personnel insufficient for extended operations. Facility lockdown prevents normal evacuation procedures. Emergency broadcast equipment remains functional but federal oversight severed. 1522 hours. Decision point analysis. Option 1. Maintain standard emergency operations protocols until federal contact restored or resources exhausted. Option 2. Implement emergency facility evacuation procedures using technical overrides. Option 3. Establish independent emergency operations using available equipment and supplies. Standard protocols specify Option 1. Current circumstances suggest standard protocols designed with assumption of federal support continuation. Federal support terminated without explanation or alternative instructions. 1528 hours. Equipment inventory. Emergency broadcast equipment. Multiple redundant systems operational. Communication devices, handheld radios, satellite uplink capability. Technical equipment, system diagnostic tools, override devices. Supplies, restricted but accessible through technical overrides. Documentation, complete emergency management protocols, facility schematics. Zeke report supply room access possible through maintenance override codes. Facility lockdown affects main entrances, but internal systems respond to emergency technical overrides. 15:35 hours. Communication attempt. Attempting contact with other regional emergency facilities using secure channels. Response from Station Beta 12. Received similar lockdown orders. Federal oversight terminated. Personnel maintaining independent operations. Response from Station Gamma 3. Facility abandoned by federal supervisors. Local emergency personnel continuing operations with available resources. Pattern indicates systematic federal abandonment of regional emergency infrastructure while maintaining operational requirements. 15:42 hours. Resource allocation decision. Implementing emergency resource rationing protocols designed for isolated facility operations. Extending available supplies to maximum operational duration while maintaining essential emergency broadcast capabilities. Technical override authorization confirmed by senior personnel consensus. Emergency situation justifies deviation from standard resource allocation procedures. Amara initiating security protocols for equipment protection during extended independent operations. Facility systems responding to local override commands despite federal lockout. 15:48 hours. Operational status. Emergency broadcast systems maintaining automated transmission capability. Manual override available for priority communications. Federal message loop terminated, replaced with regional status updates. Contact established with 17 other regional facilities reporting similar circumstances. Coordination network possible through emergency communication protocols. 15:55 hours. Final assessment. Federal emergency management infrastructure abandoned regional operations while maintaining operational requirements. Resources provided insufficient for sustained operations under normal protocols. Emergency personnel skills and technical knowledge provide capability for extended independent operations. Facility security and equipment access maintained through technical override procedures. Mission parameters shifted from federal oversight compliance to regional emergency support using available resources and established professional networks. 1600 hours. Operational transition. Implementing independent emergency operations protocols. Federal oversight terminated. Regional coordination network established. Resource management optimized for extended operations. Personnel assigned tactical responsibilities. Communication systems. D. Slate primary. A. Quinn backup. Resource management. Z. Calder primary. Network coordination. E. Moon primary. Transportation/logistics. C. Rhine primary. Next status update. 1800 hours. End log. Emergency operations report. Day 5, 6 o'clock hours. Independent Regional Emergency Network. Station Alpha 7. Operations Coordinator. D. Slate. Independent operations established. Federal oversight severed for 18 hours. Resource conservation protocols implemented. Team operational efficiency maintained through tactical role assignments. 6:05 hours. Equipment relocation status. Amara Quinn completed priority equipment extraction from restricted federal storage. Portable communication units secured. 8 handheld radios, 2 satellite uplink devices, 1 emergency broadcast transmitter. Backup power supplies for 72 hours independent operation. Technical override codes accessed federal equipment cache before remote lockdown completion. Communication equipment relocated to basement-level operations center. Secondary power grid isolated from main facility systems. Zeke Calder reports supply extraction. Medical supplies for basic field treatment, water purification tablets, emergency food rations calculated for 10 days, portable fuel cells, basic tools for equipment maintenance. 6:12 hours. Facility Security Assessment. Main facility systems compromised by federal remote access. Basement-level operations remain secure through manual isolation procedures. Emergency generator relocated to secure area with fuel supply for extended operations. Celeste Rhine confirms alternate exit routes through maintenance corridors. Primary escape route. Basement to utility tunnel system connecting to adjacent building complex. Secondary route. Emergency ventilation shaft to surface parking structure. Building schematics indicate utility tunnel access to municipal service networks. Transportation alternatives identified through City Maintenance Vehicle Depot located 4 blocks northeast. 6:18 hours Network Coordination Protocol. Contact established with 23 regional emergency facilities operating under similar independent protocols. Coordination network established using emergency frequencies outside federal monitoring range. Network reports consistent pattern. Federal personnel evacuated. Regional staff maintaining operations. Resource restrictions implemented. Communication oversight terminated. Alara Moon coordinating intelligence sharing across network. Information compiled indicates systematic federal abandonment of civilian emergency infrastructure nationwide. 6:25 hours. Resource management optimization. Water consumption reduced to minimum operational requirements. Food rationing implemented. 2 meals per day. Calculated nutrition maintenance for sustained operations. Medical supplies allocated for emergency treatment only. Power consumption optimized. Essential communication equipment only. Lighting reduced to operational minimum. Heating systems disabled except in equipment areas. Waste management protocols. Minimal waste generation. Complete utilization of available materials. Equipment maintenance prioritized over comfort considerations. 6:32 hours. Operational routine establishment. Daily schedule implemented for sustained operations. 6 to 8 o'clock. Equipment status checks. Network communication. 8 to 1600 hours. Emergency monitoring, coordination activities. 16 to 1800 hours. Resource management, facility maintenance. 18 to 2200 hours. Network coordination, intelligence compilation. 22 to 6 o'clock. Minimal staffing, emergency monitoring only. Personnel rotation ensures continuous communication monitoring while conserving energy and resources. 6:38 hours. Technical capability assessment. Emergency broadcast equipment fully operational on independent power supply. Transmission range, metropolitan area coverage, selective frequency targeting possible. Satellite uplink provides communication beyond regional network. Contact possible with emergency facilities nationwide, civilian populations, potential coordination with abandoned emergency personnel. Diagnostic equipment functional for system maintenance. Repair capabilities limited to available parts and tools. Equipment lifespan estimated at 30 days under optimal maintenance conditions. 6:45 hours. Intelligence compilation. Network reports indicate federal personnel evacuation completed within 72-hour timeframe. Military presence increased at strategic locations. Airports, government facilities, transportation hubs, communication centers. Civilian population receiving limited information through commercial media. Official messaging emphasizes temporary emergency measures, federal coordination of response efforts, civilian cooperation with local authorities. No commercial media reporting federal personnel evacuation or abandonment of emergency infrastructure. 6:52 hours. Resource acquisition planning. Immediate requirements. Extended food supplies, additional fuel, water sources, medical supplies, equipment maintenance materials. Potential sources identified. Abandoned government facilities within transport range, municipal emergency supplies, commercial suppliers before general supply chain disruption. Celeste developing acquisition routes using municipal service tunnel access and surface transportation alternatives. Timeline. Acquisitions must occur before federal lockdown of additional facilities. 6:58 hours. Communication security protocols. Federal monitoring capabilities assumed active on standard emergency frequencies. Communication protocols implemented. Coded references, scheduled contact times, frequency rotation procedures. Network security maintained through emergency authentication procedures. Federal interference detected on 3 regional frequencies. Alternative frequencies established. AMARA implementing communication encryption using emergency management protocols. Federal decryption capability assumed, but encryption provides operational security delay. 705 hours. Tactical assessment update. Federal abandonment of regional emergency infrastructure confirmed across multiple states. Emergency personnel maintaining operations without federal support or guidance. Civilian population unaware of emergency infrastructure abandonment. Official communications maintain appearance of coordinated federal response. Resource acquisition window estimated at 48 to 72 hours before federal lockdown prevents access to government supply caches. 712 hours. Network coordination results. Regional network established contact with 47 emergency facilities operating independently. Coordination protocols established for resource sharing, intelligence exchange, tactical cooperation. Network coverage includes major metropolitan areas, rural emergency services, institutional facilities maintaining emergency operations. Coordination capability enables regional response to civilian emergencies despite federal oversight termination. 718 hours. Operational efficiency assessment. Team coordination optimized for independent operations. Professional expertise adapted to survival requirements while maintaining emergency service capabilities. Resource consumption reduced by 30% through efficiency protocols. Operational capability maintained at acceptable levels. Equipment security and maintenance protocols prevent operational degradation. Estimated operational duration: 15 days with current resources, 30 days with successful acquisition operations. 725 hours. Strategic planning. Priority objectives: resource acquisition, network expansion, intelligence gathering, civilian population safety maintenance. Tactical approach: utilize professional emergency management skills for survival operations, maintain service capability for civilian population, coordinate with regional network for maximum operational effectiveness. Risk assessment: federal interference with operations, resource depletion, equipment failure, facility compromise. 732 hours. Resource acquisition preparation. Celeste conducting reconnaissance of target facilities. Federal Supply Depot 3 miles southwest, Municipal Emergency Warehouse 2 miles northeast, Commercial Supplier Facility 4 miles east. Acquisition priorities: food supplies, water sources, fuel, medical supplies, communication equipment, maintenance materials. Timeline: initial acquisition operation scheduled for 8 o'clock hours using utility tunnel access routes. 738 hours. Equipment preparation. Portable communication equipment prepared for field operations. Handheld radios programmed with network frequencies, emergency authentication codes, tactical communication protocols. Transportation equipment. Municipal service access tools, facility entry equipment, cargo handling materials. Security equipment. Basic protective gear, emergency medical supplies, communication devices for coordination during operations. 745 hours. Final operational assessment. Independent operations established with sustainable resource management, network coordination, tactical capability maintenance. Professional emergency management expertise successfully adapted to survival operations while maintaining civilian service capability. Resource acquisition operations required for extended operational sustainability. Network coordination provides tactical advantage and intelligence capability. Federal oversight termination confirmed across regional network. Independent operations represent only viable option for continued emergency service provision. 752 hours. Network status update. Current network status: 47 facilities operational, resource sharing protocols established, Intelligence coordination active. Tactical cooperation confirmed. Communication security maintained through frequency rotation and emergency authentication. Federal interference minimal on alternative frequencies. Regional coverage sufficient for coordinated emergency response despite federal infrastructure abandonment. 7:58 hours. Operations transition complete. Independent emergency operations fully established. Resource management optimized. Network coordination active. Tactical capabilities maintained. Team adaptation successful. Professional skills applied to survival requirements. Operational efficiency preserved. Civilian service capability retained. Next phase. Resource acquisition operations, network expansion, intelligence gathering for long-term sustainability planning. End operational report. Next update. 12 o'clock hours following acquisition operations. Emergency communications log, day 14. Facility status. Critical. Personnel. 5 operational. The auxiliary generator coughed to life at 0347 hours. Its diesel engine straining against 14 days of continuous operation. Fuel gauge showed 18 hours remaining at current consumption rate. Main power grid had failed completely yesterday when the municipal station went dark. No restoration crews responding to automated distress signals. I adjusted the emergency broadcast transmission power to minimum sustainable levels. Battery backup systems for critical communications equipment showed 67% charge. Amara's network security protocols had isolated our systems from the cascading failures affecting regional emergency networks, but isolation meant no coordination with other facilities. Supply run results negative. Zeke reported through the internal comm system. His voice carried the strain of 3 failed attempts to reach the Federal Emergency Supply Depot 12 miles northeast. Military checkpoint at Highway 94 intersection. Armed patrols preventing civilian access to government facilities. The tactical situation had deteriorated beyond standard emergency protocols. Government supply depots, previously accessible to emergency personnel under continuity procedures, were now defended positions. Military forces were actively denying resources to civilian emergency responders while maintaining operations at classified locations. Celeste's transportation coordination had identified 17 potential supply caches within operational range. Government warehouses, emergency stockpiles, and federal facility storage areas containing equipment and provisions for extended operations. Each location required tactical assessment of military presence and access routes. Secondary route through industrial district shows promise. She transmitted from the reconnaissance vehicle. Warehouse complex behind chemical plant appears abandoned but secured. No military presence observed in 12-hour surveillance window. The chemical plant warehouse had been designated Emergency Supply Cache Delta 7 in federal continuity documents. Inventory records indicated communications equipment, medical supplies, and 40-day food provisions for emergency personnel. Resources critical for maintaining operations and supporting the growing network of abandoned emergency responders across the region. At 1,134 hours, Celeste's transmission cut to static during final approach to the warehouse complex. Emergency locator beacon showed vehicle position but no response to communication attempts. Standard protocol required immediate extraction team deployment, but tactical assessment indicated potential military ambush. Elara monitored federal communication intercepts from the intelligence station. Military traffic indicates civilian interdiction operations in Sector 7. Multiple units deployed to prevent resource acquisition by non-authorized personnel. The warehouse complex sat in a tactical dead zone. Single-access road with clear sight lines for defensive positions. Chemical plant provided elevated observation points for sniper placement. Vehicle approach required crossing 200 meters of open ground with no cover or concealment options. Amara's network analysis revealed the systematic nature of military resource denial operations. Communication intercepts show coordinated efforts to prevent civilian access to government facilities nationwide. Military units have orders to secure all federal resources, and prevent population from accessing emergency supplies. The technical data confirmed operational assumptions. Government forces were actively working to deny civilian population access to resources while maintaining their own supply lines to classified bunker facilities. The emergency response system had been weaponized against the population it was designed to protect. At 1,347 hours, reconnaissance drone deployed through ventilation access confirmed Celeste's position. Vehicle disabled by improvised explosive device at warehouse perimeter. Visual contact showed movement but no response to electronic communication attempts. Medical assessment required direct approach under hostile conditions. Extraction protocols demanded immediate response within 6-hour window for maximum survival probability. Warehouse complex offered significant tactical advantages for defensive positions but required crossing the exposed approach zone under potential sniper fire. Zeke assembled medical extraction kit from emergency supplies. 47 minutes to reach position using maintenance tunnel access. Industrial district storm drainage provides concealed approach to warehouse perimeter. The underground tunnel system offered tactical advantage but required abandoning communication equipment and reducing team strength by 2 personnel. Risk assessment showed 73% probability of successful extraction versus 31% probability of additional casualties. Emergency protocols demanded tactical decision within operational timeframe. Abandon facility security to attempt extraction or maintain communications capability while accepting personnel loss. Standard procedures provided no guidance for military action against emergency personnel. At 1,430 hours, Amara detected federal communication transmission containing facility targeting data. Military command has our position and operational status. Electronic surveillance indicates they know we're maintaining emergency broadcasts despite evacuation orders. The tactical situation had escalated to direct threat level. Military forces were not simply denying resources but actively tracking and targeting civilian emergency operations. The facility's communication emissions had compromised operational security despite electronic countermeasures. Facility defense preparations required immediate implementation. Emergency lockdown procedures could secure critical systems but would eliminate extraction options for Celeste. Abandon defensive position for rescue operation or maintain strategic communications capability for regional coordination. At 1,515 hours, explosion detected from warehouse complex direction. Seismic sensors registered secondary detonations consistent with military demolition operations. Visual confirmation through long-range optics showed warehouse structures collapsing systematically. Emergency locator beacon signal terminated at 1,523 hours. Alara's intelligence analysis revealed the tactical purpose. Military communications indicate controlled demolition of government supply facilities to prevent civilian access. Systematic destruction of resources rather than allowing population access to emergency provisions. The operational reality crystallized through accumulated intelligence. Government forces were not simply hoarding resources but actively destroying stockpiles to ensure civilian population could not access emergency supplies. Scorched earth tactics against their own population. Fuel consumption calculations showed 8 hours remaining at minimum power levels. Food supplies sufficient for 6 days at reduced rations. Water reserves adequate for 11 days with strict conservation protocols. Medical supplies depleted after treating casualties from previous reconnaissance operations. Communication equipment required constant power for regional emergency coordination network. 23 other emergency facilities maintained contact through encrypted channels. Network coordination enabled resource sharing and tactical intelligence distribution across 6-state region. Tactical decision matrix showed clear parameters. Maintain communications for regional coordination of civilian resistance operations or abandon facility for individual survival with minimal resources and no strategic capability. At 1847 hours, Amara's security protocols detected military electronic warfare units approaching facility perimeter. Radio frequency jammers would eliminate communication capability within 4 hours. facility had been located and targeted for neutralization. The basement emergency protocols offered final option. Underground communication bunker could maintain operations using buried cable connections and battery power reserves. Facility above ground would be abandoned to military forces while maintaining minimal communication capability from concealed position. Equipment transfer to bunker level required 3-hour timeline. Critical systems could be relocated and secured before military arrival. Emergency broadcasts could continue from hardened position with reduced transmission power but maintained regional network access. At 2,134 hours, military vehicles approached facility perimeter with electronic warfare equipment operational. Surface facility communications terminated as planned. Underground operations commenced from bunker level with sealed access points and concealed ventilation systems. Emergency network coordination continued from backup position. Regional facilities reported similar military pressure and resource denial operations. Civilian emergency responders across multiple states facing systematic government opposition to survival operations. The tactical situation had clarified completely. Government forces were implementing population reduction through resource denial and direct action against civilian emergency operations. Emergency Response Network had become Civilian Resistance Network by operational necessity. Celeste Rhine Memorial Notation entered into operational log at 2,347 hours. Transportation Coordinator, Federal Emergency Response Network. Killed in action during resource acquisition operation. Service record reflects dedication to civilian emergency response operations despite government abandonment of constitutional obligations. Personnel status: 4 operational, 1 Kia. Resource status: critical shortage, 8-day sustainability maximum. Tactical status: underground operations, military pressure ongoing. Mission status: civilian resistance coordination, government resource denial confirmed. Emergency communications log, day 15. Underground Operations Center. Personnel, 4 operational. Battery backup systems showed 42% charge at 0600 hours. Underground operations maintained minimal power consumption through emergency protocols. Buried communication cables provided network access despite surface facility compromise. Regional Emergency Network reported 12 facilities still operational across 6-state area. Amara's decryption protocols had been processing captured military communications for 18 hours. Federal encryption keys, obtained during initial facility access period, enabled monitoring of classified command channels. Intelligence gathering revealed operational parameters previously unknown. Military communication pattern analysis complete, she reported through the hardened internal system. Government evacuation was not response to external threat. Operation codenamed Culling Protocol, systematic population reduction through infrastructure collapse and resource denial. The tactical intelligence confirmed operational suspicions. No external enemy threatened government leadership. The emergency evacuation represented planned abandonment of civilian population with active measures to prevent survival. Military forces were implementing elimination operations disguised as emergency response. Federal continuity database access remained functional through backup network connections. Security clearances had not been revoked despite facility abandonment. Government oversight failure provided tactical advantage for intelligence gathering operations. Document classification revealed comprehensive population reduction planning. Economic projections indicated resource sustainability required 70% population decrease. Environmental impact assessments supported reduced human presence for long-term resource management. Strategic planning documents outlined systematic infrastructure failure as optimal reduction methodology. Bunker facility locations identified. ELERA transmitted from Intelligence Workstation. Federal Emergency Management Database contains coordinates for 847 classified survival facilities. Government leadership relocated to hardened positions with 20-year supply provisions. The bunker network represented massive resource concentration while civilian population faced systematic deprivation. Underground facilities contained medical equipment, food stockpiles, power generation systems, and communication networks sufficient for extended operations. Resource distribution favored government personnel at ratio of 400:1 versus civilian allocation. Zeke's supply analysis revealed comprehensive resource redirection. Federal procurement records show emergency supply contracts redirected to classified facilities 3 months before emergency declaration. Civilian emergency stockpiles systematically emptied and transferred to bunker locations. The timeline indicated extensive advance planning. Government resource redirection began 96 days before public emergency announcement. Military supply contracts doubled during preparation period. Civilian emergency management budgets were redirected to classified bunker provisioning operations. Technical documentation revealed infrastructure vulnerability protocols. Government engineers had installed remote shutdown capabilities in power generation, water treatment, and communication networks. Infrastructure failure was not systemic breakdown but coordinated deactivation through federal access systems. Power grid failures were remotely triggered, Amara confirmed through network analysis. Federal emergency management systems contain override protocols for civilian infrastructure. Grid operators never lost control. They were locked out by government command systems. The civilian emergency response network had been designed with fatal vulnerabilities. Federal oversight enabled complete infrastructure shutdown through classified access protocols. Emergency responders were systematically isolated and denied resources while maintaining operational capability for government facilities. Military operational orders revealed engagement protocols for civilian population. Rules of engagement authorized lethal force to prevent access to government resources. Civilian emergency personnel were classified as non-essential and denied protection under federal emergency protocols. Underground facility access provided tactical advantage for comprehensive intelligence gathering. Hardened communication systems enabled monitoring of government command channels without detection. Emergency management database access revealed strategic resource cache locations throughout the region. Resource cache inventory shows 23 facilities within 50-mile radius, Zeke reported. Federal emergency stockpiles contain 18-month supply provisions for 500 personnel per facility. Military security varies from minimal to platoon-strength defensive positions. Strategic resource acquisition required tactical assessment of each facility. Government caches contained communications equipment, medical supplies, food provisions, and defensive materials sufficient for extended resistance operations. Access protocols required professional clearance codes still functional in emergency management systems. Federal emergency broadcast systems provided tactical communications capability for civilian coordination. Underground operations maintained network access to regional emergency frequencies. Professional emergency management protocols enabled coordination of civilian resistance without military detection. Emergency broadcast encryption keys provide secure communication with civilian emergency networks, Amara confirmed. Government oversight failure means emergency management frequencies remain functional for civilian coordination operations. The tactical communications advantage enabled regional resistance coordination. Emergency responders across multiple states could coordinate resource acquisition and tactical operations through encrypted channels. Professional emergency management network had evolved into civilian resistance communication system. Intelligence analysis revealed government timeline for population reduction completion. Military operational orders indicated 6-month timeline for area clearance operations. Civilian population elimination was scheduled for completion before resource limitations affected bunker operations. Phase 2 operations begin in 37 days. Alara reported from classified military communications. Military units will transition from resource denial to active elimination operations. Civilian emergency personnel targeted for immediate neutralization. The tactical timeline demanded immediate action. Resource acquisition operations required completion before military escalation to direct elimination protocols. Emergency management network needed rapid expansion to coordinate civilian resistance before government forces implemented final phase operations. Federal facility security analysis revealed tactical vulnerabilities in government resource caches. Emergency management clearance codes provided access to facility security systems. Remote monitoring capabilities enabled surveillance of military defensive positions without direct reconnaissance. Facility security systems accessible through Emergency Management Network, AMARA confirmed. Professional clearance codes enable monitoring of defensive positions and resource inventory at government caches. The technical advantage provided tactical intelligence for resource acquisition operations. Real-time surveillance of military positions enabled timing of access operations for maximum success probability. Emergency management database contained facility layouts and security protocols for strategic planning. Regional emergency network coordination revealed comprehensive civilian resistance capability. Emergency responders maintained operational capability despite government abandonment. Professional expertise in logistics, communications, and tactical coordination provided foundation for organized resistance operations. Network analysis shows 847 emergency personnel maintaining operations across 12-state region, Alera reported. Professional emergency management capabilities enable coordinated resistance operations at strategic level. The civilian resistance network possessed tactical advantages through professional expertise. Emergency management protocols provided organizational structure for large-scale operations. Federal database access enabled strategic intelligence gathering and resource acquisition planning. Government bunker communications revealed leadership location and operational status. Federal emergency management systems provided surveillance capability for classified facilities. Real-time intelligence on government operations enabled tactical planning for resistance coordination. Primary government bunker facility located 127 miles northeast, AMARA reported. Communication intercepts indicate 847 government personnel with families in hardened facility. Resource consumption rate suggests 22-year operational capability. The government resource concentration represented tactical opportunity for civilian resistance operations. Bunker facility contained comprehensive resource stockpiles sufficient for extended civilian population support. Professional emergency management access enabled potential resource redistribution operations. Strategic decision matrix required immediate implementation. Regional resistance network possessed capability for coordinated operations against government resource caches. Emergency management expertise provided tactical advantage for systematic resource acquisition before military escalation. At 2,147 hours, encrypted transmission received from Regional Emergency Coordinator Network. 43 facilities coordinating simultaneous operations against government resource caches. Professional emergency management network implementing tactical resistance operations across multiple states. Operational timeline established. 72-hour window for coordinated resource acquisition before military phase 2 implementation. Emergency management network possessed technical capability and tactical intelligence for strategic resistance operations. Federal database access revealed comprehensive vulnerability in government resource security. Emergency management clearance codes provided access to 89% of classified facility security systems. Professional oversight failure created tactical advantage for civilian resistance network. Mission parameters updated. Coordinate regional resistance operations, acquire strategic resources, establish civilian survival network before government elimination timeline. Emergency management expertise crucial for tactical success against systematic population reduction operations. Intelligence assessment complete. Government deception exposed through professional database access. Tactical advantage confirmed through emergency management clearance codes. Resource acquisition operations ready for immediate implementation. Emergency communications log day 12. Operator, Damon Slate. Location, underground relay station Delta 7. Status, active resistance operations. 0347 hours. Transmission preparation. System diagnostics complete. All backup transmitters operational. Amara's encryption protocols loaded into primary broadcast array. The classified files we pulled from the continuity servers are compiled into a 30-minute emergency broadcast package. Proof of the planned population reduction. Financial records showing resource hoarding. Military orders to prevent civilian access to supplies. Zeke confirms our position. 3 supply trucks staged at the government warehouse complex, 2 miles northeast. Celeste monitoring radio chatter from her medical station, her legs stable enough for coordination duty. Alara's established contact with resistance cells in 14 cities. They're standing by for synchronized transmission. The emergency broadcast system was designed to reach every functioning receiver in the continental United States. Today, we use it exactly as intended to warn the population of a genuine emergency. 0352 hours military detection. Amara's picking up encrypted military communications. They know we're here. Triangulation teams deployed to our sector. Estimated arrival, 23 minutes. Signal strength on the primary array? Ask. Full power available, she confirms. But once we start transmitting, they'll have our exact location within 90 seconds. Standard protocol. The emergency broadcast system wasn't designed for stealth operations. Zeke's already positioning the supply trucks for rapid evacuation. Route planned to secondary relay station, 48 miles south. 0355 hours. Transmission begins. This is Emergency Communications Specialist Damon Slate broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. The following transmission contains classified government documentation proving systematic deception of the American population. The files upload automatically. Financial records showing 3 years of resource stockpiling in private bunkers. Military orders dated 6 months ago authorizing civilian population reduction. Communications between government officials discussing the cleansing protocol. Amara monitors the data stream. Transmission successful to primary networks. Backup systems engaging. 0358 hours network cascade. Every emergency receiver in range picks up the signal. The broadcast system's redundancy protocols activate, retransmitting through all available networks. Amateur radio operators relay the signal. Cell towers still under civilian control amplify the transmission. Alara's voice crackles through our secure channel. Confirmed reception in Denver, Phoenix, Atlanta. Local cells beginning coordinated raids on government supply caches. The truth spreads faster than they can contain it. 0401 hours military response. First helicopter appears on the horizon. 2 ground units approaching from the east access road. Amara begins emergency shutdown procedures for the sensitive equipment while maintaining broadcast power. Primary transmission complete. I announce. Switching to mobile relay protocols. Zeke's already loading critical communication equipment into the lead truck. The broadcast continues automatically through the network cascade. They can't stop it now without shutting down the entire emergency system. 0403 hours tactical withdrawal. Underground tunnel to the vehicle staging area. Celeste coordinates our movement despite her injury. The relay station's automated systems will maintain broadcast for another 47 minutes before military jamming becomes effective. Supply cache coordinates transmitted to all resistance cells. Alara reports. Government warehouse locations, bunker access codes, resource distribution points. 0407 hours, supply cache raid. 3 government supply trucks parked exactly where the classified manifests indicated. Industrial generator units, water purification systems, medical supplies, ammunition. 6 months of resources stockpiled for the planned aftermath. Zeke directs loading operations. MREs for 3,000 people, water purification tablets, antibiotics, emergency medical equipment. Military protocols assume civilian populations lack coordination and intelligence. They're wrong. 0412 hours. Countercommunications. Military jamming attempts detected. Amara activates frequency hopping protocols, cycling through emergency bandwidth allocations. The broadcast system's redundancy prevents single-point shutdown. They're trying to broadcast counterinformation, she reports. Standard disinformation protocols, but the evidence is already distributed. Financial records, military orders, resource inventories. Documentation they can't dispute. 0415 hours. Resistance coordination. Alara's secure channel opens multiple connections. Los Angeles cell secured 4 supply warehouses. Chicago team broadcasting local proof. Phoenix group coordinating with military deserters. The revelation creates cascading effects. Military personnel discovering their families were marked for elimination. Government workers realizing they were expendable. The deception unravels systematically. 0418 hours mobile operations. Convoy established. 3 supply trucks, 2 communication vehicles, medical transport for Celeste. Route to secondary relay station confirmed clear. The underground facility there contains enough equipment for sustained operations. Broadcast network established. I confirm. Emergency communications now serving actual emergency response. 0422 hours. System adaptation. The emergency broadcast system transitions from government control to civilian coordination. Frequencies allocated for resource distribution, medical assistance, tactical coordination. What they designed for population control now serves population survival. Amara establishes secure communication protocols between resistance cells. Network mesh topology active. Decentralized command structure prevents single-point shutdown. 0425 hours. Resource liberation. First coordinated supply distribution begins. Government stockpiles redirected to civilian populations. Emergency supplies reaching communities cut off from official aid. The hoarded resources flowing to their intended recipients. Zeke coordinates logistics through our mobile command center. 47 distribution points active. Resource flow rate exceeding pre-crisis levels in liberated sectors. 0430 hours military defection. Increasing reports of military units refusing orders. Personnel discovering their own families were targeted for elimination. The deception scale creates its own resistance. Military desertion rate at 37% and climbing, Alara reports. Complete units switching to civilian protection. 0435 hours. Tactical assessment. Government bunkers remain operational but isolated. Military command structure fragmenting. Civilian population coordinating through emergency networks they can't shut down without destroying their own communications. The tactical situation has reversed. Professional expertise applied to survival creates sustainable resistance. Emergency protocols designed for population control now serve population protection. 0440 hours. Operational status. Secondary relay station established. Communication network spanning 12 states. Resource distribution active in 47 locations. Military resistance decreasing as personnel defect to civilian protection. Emergency broadcast system fully operational under civilian control. I report. Coordination networks established for sustained resistance operations. The emergency continues, but the population is no longer defenseless. 0445 hours. Network confirmation. Amara completes final system checks. All communication networks secure and functional. Encryption protocols protecting civilian coordination. Broadcast capability maintained through redundant infrastructure. The tools they gave us to manage the crisis now serve to expose and resist it. Professional competence converted to tactical advantage. Emergency systems serving their actual purpose, protecting the population from genuine threats, including the threat from their own government. Emergency communications log, day 28. Operator, Damon Slate. Location, Civilian Emergency Coordination Center. Status, operational maintenance mode. 0800 hours. System status report. Network diagnostic complete. 43 relay stations operational across the continental network. Emergency broadcast system fully converted to civilian coordination protocols. Daily resource distribution reports processing through automated systems. Amara's security protocols have prevented 14 military cyber intrusion attempts in the past 72 hours. Network integrity maintained at 97.3% operational capacity. Communication mesh topology continues expanding as more emergency personnel join civilian operations. Daily supply coordination ready for transmission. Zeke reports from the logistics station. His resource management protocols now serve 67 communities directly, with secondary distribution reaching an estimated 340,000 civilians. 0815 hours. Resource distribution status. Morning supply report confirms sustainable operations. Government stockpiles liberated from bunker facilities provide 3-month buffer for current population. Water purification systems operational in all major sectors. Medical supply distribution maintaining adequate coverage for routine needs. Celeste coordinates transportation from her mobile command unit. Her injury required tactical adaptation but not operational compromise. Supply convoy routes optimized for fuel efficiency. 17 trucks operational, 2 in maintenance rotation. The systematic resource hoarding designed to support elite survival now serves general population needs. 0830 hours military status assessment. Defection rates stabilized at 62%. Remaining government forces consolidated around bunker complexes, maintaining defensive positions but avoiding civilian engagement. Cost-benefit analysis apparently shifted against population control operations. Alera's intelligence network monitors military communications. Bunker facilities report resource consumption exceeding projections. Leadership requesting extraction to overseas facilities. The elite's survival plan contained critical flaws in long-term sustainability calculations. 0845 hours. Communication network operations. Daily coordination briefing with regional cells. Los Angeles sector reports stable operations. Resource surplus available for distribution. Chicago network expanding into rural areas previously cut off from supply chains. Phoenix coordination includes military units now providing civilian protection. Emergency frequencies serve their designed function, coordinating response to genuine emergencies. Medical calls, resource requests, security alerts. The system operates as originally intended before the deception protocols. 0900 hours. Technical maintenance. Routine system maintenance on primary broadcast equipment. The emergency communication infrastructure requires consistent technical support to maintain operational capacity. Professional competence ensures network reliability. Backup power systems tested and confirmed. Amara reports. Satellite uplinks functional. Redundant communication paths verified. Technical expertise becomes essential for sustained civilian operations. Professional skills serve community survival rather than institutional control. 0915 hours. Resource production planning. Transition from emergency consumption to sustainable production. Agricultural coordination begins through communication networks. Manufacturing facilities abandoned by government contractors now serve civilian needs. Zeke coordinates production planning sessions. Tool production facility operational in Detroit sector. Medical supply manufacturing restarted in pharmaceutical plants. Food processing equipment recovered from government stockpiles. Emergency response evolves into community reconstruction using liberated resources. 0930 hours. Intelligence operations. Monitoring government bunker communications reveals declining morale and resource disputes among leadership. Internal conflicts developing over evacuation priorities and remaining supply allocation. Intercepted communications indicate power struggles in bunker facilities, Alera reports. Resource competition between different elite factions, some requesting immediate overseas evacuation. The population they attempted to eliminate now demonstrates superior organization and resource management. 0945 hours. Security protocols. Civilian security coordinated through emergency networks. Former military personnel provide tactical expertise for community protection. Professional competence in security operations maintains stable conditions. Perimeter monitoring systems operational around all major communities. Reports former military coordinator now serving civilian populations. No hostile activity detected in past 96 hours. 1,000 hours educational coordination. Knowledge transfer protocols established. Technical expertise distributed through emergency education networks. Professional skills taught to ensure operational continuity beyond current personnel. Emergency broadcast system now includes technical training transmissions. Engineering knowledge, medical procedures, resource management techniques. The infrastructure serves long-term community sustainability. 1,015 hours, agricultural status. Food production coordination through rural communication networks. Agricultural equipment liberated from government stockpiles distributed to farming communities. Professional agricultural expertise coordinates planting schedules and resource allocation. Seed distribution complete for spring planting season. Reports agricultural coordination specialist. Equipment maintenance protocols established. Fertilizer supplies adequate for projected acreage. 1,030 hours medical network. Healthcare coordination through emergency medical frequencies. Pharmaceutical supplies redistributed from government stockpiles. Medical professionals coordinate treatment protocols and supply requirements. Regional medical centers operational with adequate supply levels. Reports medical coordinator. Emergency response protocols adapted for community healthcare delivery. 1,045 hours. Manufacturing coordination. Industrial facility coordination through technical communication networks. Production priorities established based on community needs rather than elite requirements. Professional manufacturing expertise serves civilian populations. Production quotas met for essential equipment. Reports manufacturing coordinator. Tool production, medical devices, communication equipment. Output exceeds pre-crisis levels in liberated facilities. 1,100 hours. Transportation networks. Fuel distribution coordinated through logistics communication systems. Transportation infrastructure maintained by professional personnel previously serving government operations. Supply chains optimized for civilian needs. Celeste reports from Mobile Logistics Center. Transportation efficiency improved through coordinated routing. Fuel consumption reduced 23% through optimized distribution planning. 1,115 hours. Threat assessment. Government bunker facilities remain operational but isolated. Military forces maintain defensive positions around elite refuges but demonstrate no capacity for renewed population control operations. International extraction requests suggest abandonment of domestic control objectives. Threat level assessed as minimal for current operations, Alera confirms. Government forces focused on leadership protection rather than civilian engagement. 1,130 hours. Network expansion. Communication network continues expanding into previously isolated areas. Rural communities connected through mobile relay systems. Professional expertise enables technical expansion of operational capacity. Network coverage increased to 87% of pre-crisis population centers, Amara reports. Technical capabilities sufficient for continued expansion. 1,145 hours. Operational assessment. Emergency communication system successfully converted from population control to population service. Resource distribution sustainable through liberated government stockpiles and resumed production. Community coordination effective through professional expertise and technical infrastructure. The tools designed for systematic elimination now serve systematic survival. 1,200 hours. Daily operations summary. Professional competence applied to community survival achieves superior results compared to elite resource hoarding strategies. Emergency systems serve their intended function under civilian control. Sustainable operations established through coordinated expertise and resource management. Government deception exposed and countered through technical knowledge. Population survival ensured through professional adaptation to crisis conditions. Ongoing vigilance maintains operational security against remaining institutional threats. The emergency broadcast system continues its daily coordination functions, serving the population it was always meant to protect.